Welcome back to another episode of Honesty Talk. Now, we take your requests for topics very, very seriously. And there is one particular topic that has been highly requested, and we have decided to bring it to the table. And that is finding a husband. Now, that can be from sisters who have never been married before. It can be sisters who are looking for remarriage after a divorce, after being widowed, and so on. It's a highly requested topic. I know that we are excited to talk about it. And yeah, let's bring it to Honesty Talk. Let's bring it. So, Layinka, I shall start with you.
So let's talk about this. Finding a husband. Do you know what? There are different angles. There's the angle of women who have been looking for a long time, who become disillusioned by the prospects of finding a husband because they haven't found the fit for them. And there are those who are first starting out to in their search, and there are also those who have been married before and are now back on the search, for their spouse. I want to talk to the ladies who have become disillusioned, because it's so easy to decide that there are no good men out there because you haven't found your match, and to kind of decide that you need to start lowering your standards. You need to start taking things off your list. Like, oh, maybe this isn't that important, and maybe that isn't that important, and maybe I should just give up that, just so that you can widen the net of the pool that you're searching in. And I firmly believe that if you know who you are, and you know what fits and matches you, and what you need in a spouse, there is no need for you to lower your standards, because Allah has created someone that you need. He knows you. He knows what you need, who will fit you, and to stay firm to that, because there'll be people who will tell you, oh, why are you so fussy, or why you're being too picky, or why can't you just have this one? This one is good, but maybe you don't want just good. Maybe you want excellent, right? And so lowering your standards is quite dangerous, because then you can then become dissatisfied with the person that you may eventually get married to, because they don't actually tick those boxes that you had. And like I always say that no one is looking to complete someone else. Like women, no man's completing you. It's just complementing you. And when women stop looking at men to complete them and to complement them, then I think in many ways, they can find the right match for them that will work with them, not someone who will fill all the holes in them. Because I hear that, right? Oh, I need someone to complete me. Is that because you're incomplete? Is that really what you're saying? And for those women, I would say go on that journey within yourself to know yourself, so that you can find the person that will support you and to complement you.
Yeah, look into yourself as you're looking for a husband, right? Because Allah has created us in pairs. So your pair, bi'idhnillah, by His permission, is out there. But it's very important for you to know, like you said, who you are, in order to know what to look for. And that comes with spending time with yourself. That comes with exploring different pursuits, passions, being creative. It's really, really important to know yourself in order to know what you want, what you desire, and maybe what you even need. on the point that you made about, sisters becoming kind of disillusioned or being made to think that they're being too picky and too fussy. I think it's really important there's an exercise that I encourage sisters to do when they're looking to get married, and that is to create 2 lists. One is your absolute musts that you're looking for. These are non-negotiables. Like, he has to be A, B, C. He has to have X, Y, Z. These are like, if he doesn't tick that box, he's out. And it's really important to be balanced with that list. Yeah. You've got to really sit with it. And I actually encourage sisters to write it out, to actually see it on paper, because sometimes you can have this idea, this kind of fantasy of this man in your mind. But when you write it down, you can say to yourself, okay, you know what? If that wasn't there, it wouldn't be such a biggie, but if that wasn't there, it just would not, that wouldn't vibe with me. So so the first column is the absolute must, non-negotiables. The second column is what I call the bonuses. So if he were to be like this, if he were to have this, if he were to do this, it would add value, but it wouldn't be the necessity.
Do you know what I like? I would add a third to that. So having the list of must-haves, these are the non-negotiables. Having the list of things that are nice to have, and also having a list of the deal breakers. Because in not knowing what your deal breakers are, because your musts and your deal breakers could be different.
I would have thought the deal breakers are the musts.
So the musts are things that I really, really want. But if this here is a deal break, like for instance, I could say that someone who has never had kids, right, is something that is a must for me, right? But if he has certain traits, that's a deal breaker for me, right? So these are things that he must have, but these are things that he must not have. And I think they're not the same thing, because in looking at what he must have, there might be things that someone has that actually becomes an issue for you, like as seemingly ridiculous as does he eat with his mouth open? Like, and if that's gonna grate you, and I know it seems like
that would be on my non-negotiable.
No, but do you know what? It seems like it's silly, but when you're
practically lifelong,
lifelong listening to, seriously, yo. I know. Look, listen, people are watching us thinking these women are like,
no, men and women. That's just.
But it's these are the things that we overlook, right? These are the things that we overlook, but they matter because they are the little pebbles of annoyance that build up to be something massive, and you don't even know why you have resentment to this person, but it's because this thing has been built up over time, and now you've lost sight of actually what was the real issue in the first place. So don't discard the small things, because they matter too. Obviously, looking at the big picture, we're not now saying, put every little detail, but there are some things that matter to us that we easily sweep aside because we say, oh, it's just a minor thing.
I think that taking it a step back to before you kind of start the search, we talked about knowing yourself. I think one of the things that comes up is the issue of self-esteem and worth, and believing that you are entitled to asking for what you want. You're entitled to say no to what you don't want. You're allowed to actually have demands. Like if we're talking about dating profiles, you're allowed to say, I'm looking for this and not that, without having the fear that, oh, that's going to put some people off, or that's going to make me look a certain way, or I don't want to come across. It's not. You're just stating the fact. You're making the elimination process easier. I think also, for especially you know what, I won't qualify. I think for all women, the issue of being wanted is not enough. Getting attention is not enough. Why do you want to marry this person? Well, they want to marry me. But is that enough? What do you want? Yeah. Like, I'm talking to you. Tell me what you want.
And that goes back to confidence issues and self-worth issues, right?
But also if you look at someone who's coming from the background of never having felt wanted or seen or experienced that type of male attention or connection, to them it may be like, okay, is this what it's supposed to be? Is this a green light to go ahead because I'm feeling these feelings.
And that's why you've got to also have gone through your own healing journey to heal any issues that may come up in the process of trying to find a spouse.
And they will.
And they will, of course they will, because if you, for example, as a child, you were neglected, rejected, abandoned, then you're going to have this anxious attachment as you are looking for a spouse. And that clouds the ability, your judgment, the ability to know what your standards are, to have boundaries, and then you find yourself perhaps married to someone that you don't necessarily want or need, but actually it was feeding a childhood wound. So I think it's important to know yourself, to heal any issues, so that the person that you're bringing to the journey of looking for a spouse is as whole as possible. And that goes both ways, right? It goes both ways. What about sisters who've already been married? Okay, and they've had perhaps a negative experience. They were married for X number of years, they have children, and, you know, they've got to a point where they've finally found the confidence to look again. You know, sadly, and it grates on me, there is still a taboo within the community that divorced women should just take anything and should accept anything, and they're used and you know, oh, you know, subhanAllah, time and time again, oh sister, so you know, you're divorced, you're looking to get married, well, there's a brother who's already married who's looking for a second wife. Why is it the assumption that because you're divorced that necessarily your preference is polygamy? I mean, it may be for some women, it may not be, but it's almost as though I see, and you know, I don't know if you see this too, that for divorced sisters, there's a narrative that's kind of shoved down their throats that, okay, because you're divorced, you need to lower your standards, you need to accept anyone that's going to take you because you have kids, because who's going to marry a sister with 4 children?
And you should be grateful that anyone wants to marry you.
Right. And I am totally against this. I am totally against this. I think it's really, really important for divorced sisters to really build upon their confidence and to know exactly what they will and won't accept, and to journey through the looking stage with Allah, knowing that Allah will give them what they need and what they deserve. When, you know, divorced women are not second-class citizens just because they were divorced. I mean, if you look at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, how many of the Sahabiyat were divorcees, widows? And the Sahaba rushed to marry them, subhanAllah. So it's
Even
really,
the Prophet ﷺ,
and the Prophet ﷺ himself, yes. So it's so important that I think for divorced sisters that they come to the process with their crown, with their crown on their heads, straighten it, know the believing woman that you are, know the queen that you are, and you will attract your king. If you come miskin,
Disheveled.
if you come as per the taboo, then you're just going to take anything, and just anything will come your way. You will attract how you see yourself. Am I making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, there was a clip once that I watched about compatibility and how it's almost like for me, I might be projecting a certain way that I am. So let's say I might project in myself as red, just color-wise, right?
Oh, I watched.
You remember this clip?
I did,
So I might be
yes.
projecting and showing myself as a certain way. I'm only going to attract people who are attracted to red because they're looking for red, right? But you get into a relationship with that person and you shed all your masks and really you're lilac. Why is there going to be conflict? Because that person wanted red and now you're lilac. And that's why it's so important to be yourself. As you are. This is the greatest thing the greatest service you can do to yourself in a future marriage, in being truly yourself and not putting up a front that you are something that you're not.
Yes.
Right? I come as I am.
Yeah.
I am in this current state. This is where I currently am. This is how I'm currently feeling. This is what I currently believe, X, Y, Z. Because the person people you meet will be able to see, that fits me. That's an alignment there. But if you pretend that you are something or someone that you're not, that's where conflict happens. Because, and then there's you aren't the person that I married. Heck no, because I was pretending, you know, this is actually who I am. And that's why we go back to knowing who you are so that you can actually come as you are. But some people feel like they need to mold themselves, contort. That's the one.
And I would want to know why. Why do you feel like you need to put on a mask and mold yourself to fit in with what this person, who is not even your husband yet, wants?
Because you've been trained that way since you were a child. That you have to perform for love, that you have to be a certain thing in order to qualify. You have all of this childhood stuff that, imagine every person who you court, date, connect with, you need to contort yourself, and you're there trying to feel out what they're looking for so you can be that, instead of being who you are and just presenting in your color, like you said. I think also hearing you talk about children, it's very, very important for the woman in that position to see herself as an entire package. It's a package deal.
Yeah.
You know, your kids are not something you need to shy away from. You know, we are not putting up that we have no kids in the profile, and then when they talk to you, they find out you got 3. Like, you can be straight up and just present the case as it is. It isn't some kind of contention. You don't have a disease that you need to hide, and this is just your reality.
It's so important to do that, because if you, again, pretending like you're someone that you're not, if you project that you're this free and single woman who's got no kids, right? And then someone's attracted to that and they realize, oh snap, she's got kids. They're going to be thinking, one, how do we get the kids out of the picture? Because I like her, but I don't like that setup, right? So you need to show that this is who I am and this is what I come with, all of me. You're not just taking me, you're taking all of us. And I think the reason why some women do that is because to be accepted, to be wanted, they feel like if I show that I'm a mother, then that means I'm going to be less desirable. You know, it's so important. This is who I am. This is how I am, and this is what I've got. And are you down? Yeah. Exactly. And if listen, ladies, if the man asks you, listen for the red flags. Can they live with their father? He's not accepted your kids. Are they going to be living with us full time? He's not accepted your kids. Listen out for these things, especially if you have children, right? Because that is a sign of whether he is ready to assume them into his fold or not.
Or absolute indifference. You can state that they're there up front, but sometimes you get the case where they're acting like they don't exist. There's no interest whatsoever about their names, their ages, it's like they're not in the way they project the future, they're not taking them into account, like you said. And also in the position of the mom, your current home, your home environment has a particular balance right now. It's stable, it's set, it has a culture. And you're going to bring an outsider into that culture, and you have to take into account whether they're going to be a good fit for the culture or not. Somebody who's going to come in and be uptight and throw off your balance and shush your kids and change your home dynamic.
And that can be applied to sisters who have never been married as well. You also have your own vibe. You also have your way of being. And it's important that you look for someone that's going to add value to that vibe, to that balance, and not shatter it because you're complete opposites. But
does it matter if you're going into the guy's house or he's coming into yours? Because I think because now it becomes something territorial, right? This is my space. This is my house. Are you coming into my house?
With your kids.
With your kids, even as a single, like a woman who's got no children, married before, whatever, is he coming into your house? Like, these are conversations that need to be had. Yes. The culture of the home, the expectations. One thing that I learned in my past, to get very clear on what were things like between your parents, who took out the trash in your home, because these are things that are embedded. My mother always took out the trash. My dad never did these things. So these have now become expectations in one's mind, right?
Unconsciously.
And unconsciously embedded that women do this and men do that. And these are specific conversations to have, because we don't have these conversations, right? And then you go into the marriage, you're living together, and you're butting heads at these little things because you haven't spoken about them in the first place.
And this goes back to the importance of asking the right questions. And I think, we if we look back at, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 years ago within the Muslim community, it was a case of, is he on the deen? Does he have good character? Even the job wasn't really a question back then. No comment. But yes, but now, you know what? Now it's like, even my daughter, my 16-year-old said, when I want to get married, I'm going to ask my potential husband, what was your childhood like? Yes. And it's these types of questions, it's the deep questions that will help you understand how this person perceives the world, how they think, how they roll, the type of personality they have, because it's not enough to be on the deen. It's not enough. Yes, these things are important. You want someone that has a good, healthy relationship with Allah. You want someone that desires the akhirah, a good place in the akhirah, just like you do. But you know what? If you want a journey towards the akhirah together, there needs to be some level of compatibility.
Yeah, and there needs to be alignment. And,
right.
And I think even asking one of my favorite questions, tell me about your 3 closest friends. Because your friends are a reflection of you.
Yeah.
So if you've got some bakwas chilling at home doing nothing friends, what does that say about you? No, let's be real now. Yeah, we need to ask. These are the questions that those list of compatibility questions that we see floating around on the internet don't include, because these are the things that let you see into that person. You get to know that person at a deeper level, because the people around them, like if I as a person, my best friend is a drug dealer, what does that say about me and my integrity and what I will accept and what I will allow around me? Because your friends, as we know from the hadith, they will rub off on you in some sort of way. So is it the blacksmith or the perfume seller? And so these are the things that we don't typically ask, that are crucial to ask, that will give you an insight into their psyche, especially if someone has had troubled childhood. Ladies, ask if they have and how they have dealt with it, because all of that mess is coming with them.
And what healing work have you engaged in? Because you know what, all of us need to heal at some level. All of us have issues. None of us are made, none of us are completely whole. So what have you done to heal from your past? What have you done to become more whole? What are you doing? How do you want to grow? And to not just simply say, are you into self-development? Are you spiritual? Are you close to Allah? The answer would probably be yes. No,
they tell you what
tell me how. Tell me how. We need to ask these open-ended questions and to really get a feel for the person. The other thing I would say is take your time. Now, if you've been looking for a long time and you want to be with someone, you're craving that companionship and that intimacy and so on and so on, you can find yourself just wanting to accept anyone, just because to fill the void of that loneliness. But you know what? It's important for us to understand something. We are in this dunya to save our souls. Your partner needs to feed health into your soul in order for you to give the best of yourself to Allah. You are better off on your own, feeding your soul, nourishing your soul yourself, than to just accept anything due to feeling lonely, and that ends up actually bringing you down and preventing you from moving in the way that you want to. So it's really important, I think, for women to take their time, to know what they want, and to really not settle for anything less than those non-negotiables, those deal breakers.
Yes. I'll add 3 to the list of questions.
Go.
An important one, and this is a cultural difference depending on where people are, is finances. We Americans, we talk money. We talk straight with money.
We Brits don't.
You guys are very like, we need to have the money talk.
What are your finances like?
Not like send me your balance, like a balance sheet. It's more like, what do you spend the most money on? What do you think is excessive and superfluous? What do you their thoughts around scarcity and abundance. You need to figure out where they're at. Is the dual income home, single income? Do you expect me to support you? Where's your position? Some people are uncomfortable talking about money. It's an issue. It's not your place. I'll handle it. You need to figure out where they stand on that. Finance is very, very important. Another one is the question about your previous relationships, if they've had any. What happened? Let's hear this conversation about the ex. Is she mentally unstable and crazy and it's her fault? Or actually we both tried our best and now we're here and it was meant to be? That's a very different. And when you ask these questions, you're listening, like you said, to the person's biases and how they present, and it tells you how they digested.
And these questions need to be
that past
asked when
relationship.
you see the person. It's not in these deep questions. It's not by WhatsApp text. It's not a phone call. You need to see the body language, because the body language is the greater percentage of communication. So you need to see this person as they're answering these questions.
Sorry. Because if they start twitching,
something's up. I'm trying to remember what the third one now is. I lost my train. No, it's okay. It's all right. We said finances, the ex. I'm gone. I've gone blank.
I'm so
I'll
sorry.
come back.
We'll come back to that. But I think also, your partner is. It's either your partner's going to is going to not make you because you make you, but your partner is going to either add value to you or take away value. And it's such an important relationship for a Muslim woman. I would say, if you're not waking up for tahajjud, making dua for this, you are not serious about finding a spouse. Really and truly. And I'm talking about tahajjud because we know that that's when the dua is like mustajab. It's answered.
And when you're coming, and this is why, the even just asking for asking Allah for a spouse, the importance of knowing it yourself and knowing what you want translates into your adiyah, into your dua to Allah. Because you can't, if you want to just say a good man, are you looking for a good man with all his teeth intact or what? Like, you want to...
That's my third thing. It's the physical attraction. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy that
you revived it.
Bismillah, physical attraction, yes.
No, finish your point. Finish your point.
But knowing what you want, going back to the original point, knowing what exactly you want, you can say, Allah, I want a man who prays 5 times a day. I want a man who's in a financially stable position. I want a man who knows how to hold me down in a safe, emotionally present space. Like, if you don't know those specifics, you can't ask
for those specifics.
And that goes back to knowing yourself and knowing what you want.
Right, and now your
physical attraction. Real quick. It's because a lot of times there's an emphasis on physical attraction from the men's side. I want a woman who looks like that, and it's unabashed, actually. She needs to be slim, she needs to be this height, she needs to be this race, this color. They're very entitled to ask for what they want. But on the women's side, it's very much like, women aren't fussed about looks. They're really into feelings. And I think we should just be dead honest about that. The fact that women also can see, and all of this talk about, women are like a flower and over time they wilt and this and that. The men are also aging and going through, let's be honest. No.
They also get wrinkles.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not okay to let yourself go and have the women be on this kind of, that a woman should just settle for whatever. But the men, get to ask for what they want specifically. So ask for what you want specifically. If it's height, if it's build, if it's whatever. If it's not acceptable, it's not acceptable. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not superficial. Don't be bullied into thinking that that makes you something. That's my last point.
Okay, and your last point, Layinka?
My last point is for anyone looking, regardless of what trajectory, which part of the path you're on, to remember that first of all, ensure that you are filling yourself first and not seeking for a man to fill you. Fill yourself first, so you will have a baseline, so that you're in a good place, so that whoever comes your way is adding to you. He's not filling what is empty. He is filling what is halfway full.
Yeah, and on that point, you will also be filling his cup.
And you will also be filling his cup, yes.
Okay, my last point on this is to just take it back to the basics, and that is, this life is temporary. You may be married today, you may be divorced tomorrow. It's so important to realize that your soul is paramount. Your body is going to leave this world. Okay, marriage is just a part of this journey. So choose wisely, choose the best for your soul, but also realize that when I say that, I don't just mean deen and nothing else. I don't just mean spirituality and nothing else. Realize that all of these other things will complement you to the point that you're able to worship Allah better. You're able to be happy enough within that union that you can then offer the best of your soul to Allah. So it's part and parcel of it. We need a part 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, we need to discuss the questions to ask, but yeah,
We've got some good questions in there.
We've got, alhamdulillah. So I think, to our viewers, hit us with the questions, the powerful, important questions that a Muslim woman needs to ask as she is looking for her king, inshallah. And we look forward to seeing you over at the next episode of Honesty Talk.
So think about what that marriage is going to look like going forward. If I'm going to jip you about your mahr, then think about what's going to come after that.
Regardless of your circumstance, you need to give her something. And if in and amongst your poverty, that's the only thing you can give her, at least give her that.
By definition, like you said, it's a gift and it's something for her to designate. So if in the case that she's the one who decided on 1p,
that's okay.
That it's gotta be, because that's her call.
So if she asks for a small amount of mahr, she is, mashallah,